Okay, you heard that right. That was a real headline. The story goes that a machine, apparently just overwhelmed by its job, decided to end it all. I know, it sounds like something straight out of a movie, but this really happened.
So let's get into this. It's a truly bizarre story. We're going to break down what actually went down with this poor machine, but more importantly, what its very strange end tells us about the humans it was working with every single day. All right, so first things first, who exactly was this robot? And what could possibly lead to it taking a dramatic dive down a flight of stairs? Let's open up the case file.
Now, when you hear robot, you might be picturing some giant arm on a factory floor. But that's not what we're talking about here. This was basically an office worker. Its official title was administrative officer, and it was employed by the government. Its whole job was just to shuttle documents around the office, from one desk to another. And it was pretty smart. It could even call and ride the elevator all by itself. So think of it less like a factory machine and more like a high-tech office intern.
According to the people who saw it, its last few moments were, well, really strange. The robot suddenly started spinning around and around in circles, just completely erratic. Then it made a beeline, straight for a staircase, and just launched itself down, ending up in a crumpled heap at the bottom. The whole scene was a total mystery.
So right away, two completely different stories started to form. You had the sensational one, that this robot, totally overworked and frustrated, had actually committed suicide. And then you had the much more logical explanation, right? That it was just a simple system error, a short circuit, a software bug, some kind of mechanical failure. What's wild is that the manufacturer, an American company, actually kind of leaned into the whole suicide story. It definitely got people talking.
And that's the real question here, isn't it? Why would you describe a technical problem in such deeply human terms? Well, the answer has almost nothing to do with the robot itself and everything to do with where this all took place.
See, to really get this story, you have to understand the country. South Korea's relationship with robots and automation is unlike anywhere else on the planet. Just let this number sink in for a second. In South Korea, for every 10 human workers out there, there is one industrial robot. Robots are just completely woven into the country's economy. This isn't a novelty. They are a huge part of the workforce, doing everything from performing surgery to serving you coffee. To put that into perspective, the density of robots in South Korea is 7 times higher than the global average. This isn't just some passing trend, it's a full-blown national strategy. And there's a very specific and very serious reason for it. South Korea is in the middle of a major demographic crisis. The population is actually shrinking, and it has one of the lowest birth rates in the entire world. The government has tried everything, even offering people $5,000 just to have a kid, but it's not working. The work culture is so intense that many people feel like they're just way too busy to even think about starting a family. And with fewer and fewer humans to do all the jobs, the country has had to turn to machine. Now, you'd think a world with more robots would make life easier for people, but in South Korea, the pressure on the human workers has actually reached an unbelievable breaking point. Okay, so this is the official legal limit for a work week in South Korea, 52 hours. That is already way higher than what you see in a lot of other developed countries. But apparently, that's not enough for some people. There's been a recent push to let companies raise the maximum work week to an absolutely staggering 69 hours. I mean, just look at the gap between the official limit and this new proposal. It tells you everything you need to know about the kind of reality a lot of workers are facing, an environment where the demand to just keep working is completely relentless. And this right here is the crucial part, the human cost. This culture of extreme overwork is leading to massive burnout. And, funnily enough, it actually makes people less productive. It's gotten so bad it sparked huge protests and strikes, even at a global giant like Samsung. And it just feeds back into the original problem, making that demographic crisis even worse. Which brings us all the way back to our poor fallen robot. When you know all this context, its so-called suicide starts to look less like a random glitch and a lot more like a symbol. What if the story of the robot who worked to death was never really about the robot at all? It might have just been a way for its human coworkers, who feel crushed by impossible demands, to send a message, a way for them to start a conversation they felt like they couldn't start on their own. By calling the robot's fall a suicide from being overworked, they created this really powerful metaphor for their own situation. So, in the end, the story of the suicidal robot isn't really about the dawn of conscious AI. It's a very, very human story about reaching the absolute limit of what you can endure in the modern workplace. And it forces us to ask a really tough question. If we start to see our own machines as overworked, stressed out, and burning out, what on earth does that say about us?